Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Afternoon Tune. I am your host, Josh, and with me, I have a special guest here who I'm interviewing today, Ryan the Predator Parker, MMA fighter himself. He just had a fight last night, and I'm glad he won because I was talking about it with Nick. I was like, this interview kind of would have been awkward if you lost. I didn't want to really ask you questions if you lost the fight, but I'm big congrats to you, man. Congratulations on your W. That was pretty
Thank you,
awesome.
man.
So how you feeling about the W?
I'm feeling really good, man. It was my first fight in about a year and a half. So, anytime you have an extended period of time off from something like a sport or something like that, there's always worry about, ring rust and coming back and maybe being a step off and having to, kind of get your rhythm back and your timing back. But I've been putting in a lot of work since my last fight, which was March of 2021, and changed up some things in my approach since then for fights prior to that, and for this one in particular. And I really felt like this was the best I've been in quite a few years in my career in terms of just my preparation, how ready I was on fight night, and just how sharp and everything my skills were last night. So I was really happy with the fight.
Nice. So what do you think was kind of different this time around for you as opposed to some of your other fights? Like, why did you feel so really great about this one than I guess some other past fights you've had?
Well, it's just like I said, my preparation for this fight. I've I had gotten to a point where I felt like my training that I was doing before was kind of keeping me stagnant. It was no longer pushing me. I had kind of outgrown um, some of the training partners that I had been using in the past. The team that I was on, particularly like solely only working with them, and I just felt like I needed something more. I've been fortunate enough to compete with some of the top competition, top prospects in the world, facing off against guys who are now signed to the top promotion in mixed martial arts, the UFC. Guys that are in Bellator, the second, and also PFL, which is where they switch between who's second and who's third. But these are the top organizations in the sport, and I'm facing off against guys who are now ultimately have reached those levels. And I just felt like I was falling short in fights earlier in my career just because I had kind of I had outgrown my training environment to where it was able to still give me the same push and the same prep that I needed. And for this camp, I was able to reach out to another local gym. I'm in the 757 Hampton Roads area in Virginia, for anybody that doesn't know. And there's a gym here called the House of Muay Thai, ran by Coach Jake Chamberlain. And he's a phenomenal coach, super knowledgeable, been in the game for probably well over a decade, possibly close to 2 decades. And he's just, you know, he was him and his school, the House of Muay Thai, was the change up I needed. They had fresh bodies. They had a lot more experienced guys who have also been um, fighting at the level that I've been fighting at. So my preparation was just much more intense this fight camp. It was much harder. Like it pushed me to my physical and mental ends and forced me to break through walls that I hadn't been faced with in quite some time. So I just think that's what really made the difference in this fight.
Mm. And your opponent for the fight, kind of were you kind of coming into it like, did you think it would be a pretty much a really really tough competition, or were you thinking it was kind of going to be a little bit easier than some of the fights you've had before, or how are you looking at your opponent kind of coming into it?
I knew my opponent was skilled. He was a veteran. He actually has more fights than me. Um, and he has some good wins in the past. He was also coming off a longer layoff than me. This was his first MMA fight back in 7 years.
Mm.
So he was coming off of a long layoff, but I had seen he had been doing some boxing. I had seen he been doing some other things. So like I said, like looking at his past fights and looking at his career up to this point, I knew he was a tough and formidable opponent, and that I couldn't take him lightly just because he's been out 7 years. Um, the last time he fought, he was fighting at 170, and now at this time point in time, we're fighting at 205 pounds. So there's a big weight difference there, and that's something that he was going to have to adjust to. So I knew that it could potentially be a tough matchup. It was a good matchup for me coming off of what I considered a long layoff for myself. It was good to jump back in there against somebody who is also coming off a layoff. So we kind of I felt took the advantage away from someone else that would be coming in who's been active, facing off against each other.
Mm.
And like I said, I just felt though like the camp and the changes I made to the camp made me supremely confident that I would be able to dominate every aspect of the fight.
Mm. Nice. And your opponent was Diego Peclat. Is that how you
Yeah,
pronounce this? Okay. Uh,
Peclat. Yeah, yeah, I think so.
okay. And just really quick, give me some of your background, how you really got into MMA. If you wanted to talk about that.
So yeah, I initially I got into MMA through wrestling. I wrestled in high school for Booker T. Washington High School in Norfolk, Virginia, and that's actually where my connection to MMA started because there I wrestled for Gaskin Reynolds as our head coach, and then the assistant coach is my current mixed martial arts coach, Xavier Bell. He was the assistant head coach for Booker T. Washington's wrestling team. So I wrestled for them for all 4 years, ninth through 12th grade. Was able to win districts my junior year. My senior year, I was number one in the district and projected to do very well in the state tournament. Unfortunately, circumstances happened to where I ended up getting kicked out of the district tournament a week before due to a violation of weight cutting rules and a technicality that um, rendered me not eligible to compete in
Okay.
the district tournament. So I ended up having to go and do some off-season stuff. I was trying to go to North Carolina State University to wrestle for them. So I ended up going and doing some off-season national tournaments, the NHSCA National U.S. Open, and placed fourth in that, making me an All-American that year. Um, and then when I went to try to go to NC State, again, more unforeseen circumstances happened to where I wasn't able to um, go and pursue that opportunity. So I ended up just playing football, but I wanted to stay near wrestling. And when I graduated, I came back and I was gonna kind of just start doing open tournaments and seeing if I could like keep myself in wrestling shape and around the sport and maybe transfer and finish out my 2 years at a school with a wrestling program. But it didn't end up working out that way. But I still wanted to stay in there wrestling, so I was going to start switching into coaching. And Xavier, my coach, he told me that he was actually transitioning to mixed martial arts and teaching and training a fighter. Who he then asked me, would you be his kind of wrestling partner to help him transition wrestling over to MMA? And that was really how I got my start in MMA. I started out as his wrestling partner, just giving them looks, kind of giving them ways that I think wrestling could transition to MMA. Because I was also a fan of the sport. Like I watched the sport
Mm.
with my father. Growing up, we watched The Ultimate Fighter all the time together. So I was very familiar with the sport and how I could transition some of the things I did during wrestling to that. And they just progressively over time were like, man, you actually are really talented in this. You probably could do this yourself. And from there, just being around it, you know, training it, I was dedicated to helping him out. So I was training it just as much as he is. Anytime he needed me, I was there. And once I finished football, I played college football for the school I ended up going to. And when I finished that, I wasn't ready to sit down and just be a normal person yet. I was like, I need something else to, keep me motivated, keep me working, keep me progressing myself every day. So then I was like, let me give this a try. And
Yeah.
I've been hooked ever since.
Football, wide receiver, quarterback, or
Outside DN and outside linebacker.
oh, okay, Dean outside linebacker. Okay, so
Yeah,
you
yeah.
hitting
I,
motherfuckers.
got- I do get quarterback and wide receiver a lot though.
Yeah, okay. Because I just figured because you are 6'3", right? 6'3".
Yeah, 6'3", 6'3" and a half.
Okay, all right.
So
Yeah, nice. Okay, so you knocking people out. All right, linebacker. All right.
it's
Um,
like the owl.
um. So you said okay. So you come from a wrestling background. So would you say that's your kind of big area of expertise when you're in the octagon? Is taking people down using that expertise of your wrestling background? You say that's kind of your specialty there.
It was for a long time. I definitely think my base is always wrestling. That is where a lot of my ability is predicated off of and has come from. My ability to kind of understand weight distribution and balance and center of gravity and kind of how to manipulate someone else's weight against them. But over the years, I've really fallen in love with like the striking aspect of the game. Um, Training boxing. My first real striking discipline was probably boxing. Like the first coach I had striking wise was a more boxing coach. So I got really good with my hands. And growing up, my dad was a big boxing fan. We used to also we were real combat sports fans. Like we liked boxing. We liked mixed martial arts once it came on the scene. Pro wrestling. So we liked that physical combat sports type aspects of things. And like I remember we would watch the HBO back when HBO would put on a pay per view. Then the next week they show it on free TV. We would always catch that free TV and see the fight from last week. And just like watching Bernard Hopkins, Roy Jones Jr. when he was coming up
Hmm.
in the early 2000s, and just uh, all of those greats from that time. So boxing was always something that I was around. My dad always had me, knowing how to just throw my hands just to protect myself out in the streets. And then once I got into MMA, my first coach was really a boxing coach, and they just kind of saw like, man, you got natural hands. You pick up combinations. You're able to kind of find rhythms and patterns really easy. And over time, like I've just become like kind of like enthralled by the striking aspect of it as well, and also jujitsu. Jujitsu is also like my you know my grappling, and jujitsu is kind of like my new wrestling. I used to love straight up and down wrestling, and now that I love the whole grappling aspect, I love being able to submit somebody from off your back, being able to manipulate somebody, sweep them, take them to mount, and whatever position you want to do to set them up for whatever you want to set them up for. So I think early on my base was really heavy wrestling, but now that I've been like I said, I've been training this now since probably about 2012. Um, Training it, being around it as a training partner, and then competing since about 2015. I really think my biggest aspect is just being a full, well-rounded mixed martial artist.
Mm. Yeah, because I see because some of your wins where you have most of your wins they were from like TKO or usually kind of strike and things like that. That was some where majority of your wins kind
But
of come.
some like a lot of them, like some of the earlier ones that still say TKO were from like me getting in a dominant wrestling position and like grounding, pounding people out, and the referee having to pull me off of them. So it's transition. Like yesterday, it was a TKO, but it was more of a technical striking TKO as
Okay.
opposed to so much. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you said you kind of were a fan of the sport, watching people like that, like Roy Jones. Who are you liking now in the sport?
Mm. I'm a big John Jones fan. I know he hasn't fought in a while. But when I came into the sport, I always got comparisons to him because I have similar body style as him, similar background with the wrestling coming in. Um, George St. Pierre was probably my favorite fighter. Um, Demetrius Johnson. Jose Aldo. I like Max Holloway. Some of the newer guys. Kamaru Usman. Izzy Adesanya. So I I I I'm really a student of the game. So I have like so many people that I look at and kind of study and see like what they did in their careers and how they adapted their styles and what could negate it, what could amplify their styles and just like really like help me understand how I can be better every day.
Nice. So your last fight was in March. It was in March '06 of 2021, and you said that was kind of
Yep.
a long layoff for you between that fight and then this fight right here. So you said you really tried your best to stay engaged during those kind of time you were off there in between. Is this kind of the longest layoff you've had in between fights between the March and this October?
I would think so. I would think so. I think maybe the first like the when the pandemic first started. So I think before that fight in March last year, I think I had one fight in 20. No, I had a fight at the start of 2020. So okay, yeah, this is the longest layoff. This was a year and 6 months. That one was about a year and 3 months. So yeah, this is the longest layoff I've had in my career. Just about 18 months. And if you looked at my record from when I was an amateur, like there was a point in time where I was fighting every 3-4 weeks just because I was finishing people so fast. I get out of a fight with no injuries, and I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna take a few days off, and I'm back in the gym. Let's line something else up.
Hmm.
And it's just I just love competing that much.
Yeah. So when did you get the call for this fight? When you in between the layoff?
Um, I actually had a teammate of mine, Kyle Wright. He was trying to get on this card, and I had got back into training. So in that fight back in March, I had actually got an injury, which is kind of what also added to the layoff of it because I got into that fight and then I was trying to that was right after the pandemic had started to kind of open back up and things were kind of looking like okay, you'll have options available to fight at places. So I went to that fight and actually ended up injuring my foot. I dislocated a toe and broke some bones in the base of my foot
Hmm.
defending the takedown during that fight, and so that put me out for about 8 weeks or so. And then when I came back, immediately like it re-injured it, this like the same injury. So ended up putting me out another 8 weeks. So there was like 4 months right there where I was just out of commission. Couldn't really, and then it was the nature of the injury, a foot injury. It's really hard to kind of be able to stay in there and do anything when it's something like a foot or a knee injury or something like that because especially a foot, like it's really hard to take your feet out of any type of training and not you know um, do anything to aggravate the injury. So I did that, and then once I got back, like 2021, I just had an injury bug. So I got back and was doing jujitsu and got a knee injury. Popped my knee pretty good. I think it
Mm.
re-aggravated the old football injury I had. So then that ended up that really honestly lingered on. And I still deal with that to this day now a little bit. Um, but like I said, it was progressively getting better, and I was just like, man, I really don't care about the knee. Like it's good enough to go. I'm training on it. As long as it holds up, I'm gonna go. So I reached out back. My teammate Kyle was telling me about the Stellar Fights card. They were looking for people, so I reached out to the promoter and told him, hey, look, I'm looking to get matched up. So that was probably back in March, and I think in like not March. That was probably back in like late April, early May, and then around June they came to me with the matchup, and we of course went through the whole negotiation, and then we was able to lock this one in. So I've probably known about it for sure, locked in since about end of June, early July.
Mm. End of June, early July. And how much time do you think is good for you to really learn about a fighter, plan for the fighter that you're kind of going against? What you think because you said like back in your amateur days you were kind of fighting, kind of in a short time span. Um,
Mhm.
what for you? What is ample time to really study a guy and plan against him?
Well, for me, typically, I think, and most fighters will tell you like 6 to 8 weeks is a typical camp. That'll give you enough time to really get in shape and then also get yourself, technically sharp to go in there and be able to compete with anything. Now, me, like I said, I was already preparing for a fight. I didn't know when it was going to come, but I'd already, with the injury, like I said, foot injury, so I couldn't run. Um, I couldn't really do any type of cardio to keep my weight down, so my weight had gotten a little high. I fought at 205 yesterday, but there was at one point where I was like 260.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah. So, once I realized like, okay, my knees good enough to go, I was like, if I'm gonna want to go, let me start chipping this weight down now and getting to within range of making 205 pounds, which is light heavyweight. And so yeah, definitely gave myself more than the allotted 6 to 8 weeks that I typically would be like, as long as I got 6 to 8 weeks, I can get ready and be right. I definitely gave myself, a little bit more time. I was already in the gym before I even reached out to the matchmaker and just was like, when it comes, I want to already be on pace so that my camp can be totally getting sharp, getting ready, and getting right for the fight.
Mm, okay. So, your process, chipping that kind of weight down, everything like that. I mean, do you have, I mean, that requires a lot of dedication. I mean, to go from 260 down to 205. I mean, would you say that that's kind of one of a huge strength of yours, dedication, putting in the hard work, I mean, training?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. That's one of the things that like I pride myself on with this, and like so even my friends who see me like when they see me outside of camp, and we're like even like my food choices like they like they'll see I like to eat. I'm not even gonna lie. I like to eat. I like to pig out, burgers, pizza, all that good stuff, man. I love it. I love to indulge in it. And like my friends are always still amazed at how quickly like I can shut all of that off and like literally be tempted by none of it. Like once I lock in, like I've got friends like we'll be playing Call of Duty and like uh they'll hear me eating. They're like, "What are you eating?" I'm like, it'll be the most healthy meal. And they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're just shocked by like they never like once I lock in for a fight or lock in for like okay, I need to lose this weight to get right at how disciplined and dedicated I am and that it doesn't even seem like any of that like affects me. And I mean it's because it doesn't like I mean wrestling all those years, football, just having to be right for those different sports. Like I feel like it has instilled in me a different mindset to like when it's time to get right and prepare. Like that's all it is. It's not a struggle for me.
Mm, nice. That is a great quality there.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
yeah. So, with your nickname, so you call yourself the Predator. Where did that nickname come from? There.
Well, actually, I just updated it to the Apex Predator because
Oh,
there's
okay.
a lot of guys. There's a lot of guys who are running around with the Predator already. So, but the name came from so as you can see, I mean, as you can see, I got dreads.
Uh,
Um, so the movie The Predator.
oh,
Uh,
okay.
yeah. And with fighting, like there's kind of like an unspoken rule where like you can't give yourself your own nickname. So, um, your nickname is supposed to be kind of given to you by just people around you. It'll describe who you are to other people when they see you. So the story behind my nickname was I was at jujitsu one day. This is probably back in what was it? Probably like 2015, 2016 when I was first starting. And we was over at Diego, my jujitsu school I trained at, Diego Bispo Academy. And I was rolling with somebody. It was an older guy too, so it was kind of funny because the old Predator movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger when
Mm.
he's fighting the Predator in the jungle. That's kind of what they was like. Oh, this looks like the Predator movie. Like I had the dreads hanging out the back, and they were just like, "Oh, the Predator's coming to get you." So like that was like the joke. Whenever I came on the mat, they started calling me the Predator, and then it just kind of stuck. They was like, "That needs to be your fight name." And then, like I said, I updated it just because one, like, a lot of people use the Predator um, as just a name, so it's kind of generic. But I updated it to the Apex Predator because if you know about like the like a food web or like the chain, the Apex Predator is at the top. Nothing hunts the Apex Predator. He's the
Right.
top of the food chain. So that's kind of what the distinction. Like I was just like, okay, let me give it that extra distinction. Like I'm the top of the food chain. I'm hunting everybody else. Nothing hunts me though.
Mm, nice. And I see on your merch, so that's supposed to be like a werewolf, right? Like kind of like a werewolf.
Yeah, it's kind of like a bee. So I didn't want to go with the Predator logo just because I don't know about trademark and all that stuff like that.
Uh huh.
So you can go with a generic werewolf that somebody draws up for you, and no harm, no foul, and we just call it a beast. So
Let me see if I can pull up the merch here that you have, which I did get myself a shirt. Should be
I appreciate it, brother.
coming pretty soon. So I got myself a large there. I got the shirt. Probably should also get a hoodie too, since winter is coming. I live in Chicago. It's gonna
Sir.
probably get real cold
Yes,
around
sir.
here.
If you're in
Yeah,
Chicago, yeah, you definitely want to get you one.
yeah. Give me
Definitely
a
want to
get myself a hoodie there. So yeah, I think it's pretty nice. I like the merch a little bit, like the character design of the wolf and everything like that. It's pretty nice.
get. We
Uh,
got we I wanted to drop some more for this fight, but like I said, this is my first one back, so I kind of just focused on just the prep into it. So for the next ones, I think I want to get some new because that logo that design is a little bit older. I got a newer one that I like a lot that I wanted to drop it at the right time. So when I got that stuff in order, that was when the pandemic hit and everything kind of slowed down. So it was like, all right, let's not drop this new design when nothing's going on. You know what I'm saying? Let's wait to the opportune time. So
nice. So are you? So do you just mostly just do the MMA stuff full time, or do you have any other thing that you kind of do?
I
Um,
mean, no. So right now, this is. I mean, it's just a side job, but I mean, I would love to get to the point where I'm doing it full time. Right now, I work full time as an accountant.
okay. Would not have guessed
Yeah,
that. I
yeah.
would have not guessed an account.
Most 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 wouldn't. Most wouldn't.
Okay. So you do want to get to the point where you do want to kind of do the MMA stuff full time and kind of enjoy.
Yes, man. If I definitely can, I would like to, get to the point where I can do it full time and just dedicate, you know, everything I have to doing this because I do think that I can go get back to the highest levels of the sport. I debuted in Bellator, which is the second largest at the time was for sure the second largest organization in at least in America and the Western Hemisphere. And they've called me back a few times, so I'm right on the cusp of like being able to be back there. And it's just gonna take a little bit of work, a little bit of dedication, and some more results like last night to stamp my ticket there and allow me to be able to fully focus on this and try to make this my living.
Mm. So it's your passion. MMA is your definitely your passion.
For sure, I love it.
So what are your main goals there? In this kind of MMA world.
Um, I want to be a world champion. I want to be a world champion in one of the top organizations in the world for sure. I want my chance to compete with the upper echelon of this sport, the best of the best, and see where I stack up. I believe that I have a lot of gifts and talents and abilities in this, and that if I harvest them and harness them the correct way, I believe I can be one of the best to do it, to have ever done it. I also want to use that to be able to um, take that platform that I am able to gain and come back to my hometown, which is Norfolk, and kind of establish MMA more of an MMA community here. There's one here, but it's in its infantry stages right now. Like it's still building. We're still kind of establishing, getting well-known names. Like we have a lot of talent here, but we haven't had too many names make it from here and then come back and give back to here and kind of reestablish it to help the next generation's path up to the top smoother and easier. So that's definitely something I want to do is come back here, start a gym, kind of unite this area. Um, and kind of just highlight just all the athletes and the different um, people that we have here that can can make it just as far or farther than me with the right help.
Mm. So, who are some big names that have come from Norfolk, Virginia?
For MMA, we've got a few. There is Brandon Veras from this area. I believe he's the current one championship heavyweight champion. I believe Dominic Cruz was from this area. Who are some other people? We have somebody in the UFC now, Tony Gravely. I believe he got signed to the UFC a couple years ago. He's been up there doing this thing. Sadiq Youssef was down here for a while. He's a current 145 pound fighter in the UFC. I believe he's top 10 now. So we've had some good names come from here, and uh, just I think that in order to make it, they had to leave. It got to a point where they had to leave here though, and
Mm.
I want it to be to a point where that's not what you have to do to make it. I want us to be able to come back here and put the different facilities and things in place to where everyone here will have equal opportunity to be, because everybody doesn't have the capacity to up and move to one of these bigger gyms and really dedicate that type of thing to their craft sometimes. So if we can come back here and kind of give them that and give them examples of people who made it from here, not only will it, allow those people who are pursuing it, maybe it will, help some of these kids who are lost and need guidance. It will give them another outlet to put positive energy into, because it can build character and make you a better person.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's remarkable. That you're kind of thinking about that things. Thinking about building up the community there, not only just MMA, but just also supporting a little bit black community or underprivileged youth there in the community. I think that's a noble thing that you're thinking about and thinking about doing. Reaching that stage. So, I mean, what are you not doing? What do you do usually when you're not fighting or preparing for a fight? I mean, what's just something you do to just chill out, relax?
Um, when I'm not preparing for fights, I'm real low key, man. I like to chill, just hang out with friends. I've been trying to do more, get out more, because like sometimes I'm uh I'm entrenched in MMA, so like a lot of it, what I do is around that. So like I'll go coach, go watch different sporting events, but it's still kind of like all based on like just the love of competition and love of always trying to get better. But no, I work, I work, train, chill. You know what I mean? Go hang out with friends, try to go travel when I can, and just live the life of a young single man.
Mm, okay, that's pretty good. Um, so do you have a next fight planned already, or you just gonna take?
My manager we do have some options on the table. Um, I'm gonna probably take a couple days to kind of just relax, you know, decompress, take my mind off it, and then we'll be probably talking middle of the week, end of the week, to kind of lay out the next game plan. We've already talked about one strong possibility that we were talking about for a while, even before this fight, and this one just fell in place before those the other ones did. So we'll probably revisit that and see if we can't lock down this multi-fight deal with a promotion that's a pretty big promotion. It's on UFC Fight Pass, so it will be hitting new audiences, putting me in front of new eyes, and kind of giving me an opportunity to get my name out there a little bit more on a higher stage and a higher platform.
Yeah, that sounds that'd be huge. If it was on something
Yeah.
like that, that'd be huge for you. So your last fight, you fought a guy named Travis Davis. So you did lose that fight. Why do you think you lost that fight against Travis Davis?
I think ultimately I lost the fight because, like I said, preparation for the fight was good, but I don't think it was optimal. And I think in preparation for it, my like I said, my training partners that I was having, I just wasn't getting pushed enough. So there were moments in there where I got to we got to situations where had I had the proper preparation, I think I would have approached the situation a little bit differently. I think in that fight I was rushing because, like I said, my training partners at the time, I was a lot more skilled than them. So a lot of the things I was working on in training were working a lot. I was having a lot more effectiveness in training than I would in a fight because of just Travis was a high level opponent. He was 9-4 at the time, number one in Ohio at the time, and he was just a skilled opponent. And I think I just needed to be in front of some a little more skilled guys who can kind of sharpen me up and prepare me for the level I was about to go face. So I think I because I was having so much success in training, I think I came out there and my game plan was rushed. I was thinking I should be looking for the finishing shots earlier than I should have been because I hadn't set them up properly in the actual fight. But in training, I was getting to those points a lot sooner just because I was more skilled than my training partner, so I was able to set them up and lead them into these traps. And Travis was a savvy veteran, so he wasn't falling into them as quickly, but I was still looking for the finishing shot, which was just putting my timing off just a little bit. I believe if I had to slow down and the way I fought yesterday, the patience I had, I started out fundamentally off of building the jab, and then I was going and slowly stacking on what I was doing. If I
Mm,
would have fought Travis with that same patience and that same composure to the game plan, I believe I probably would have finished him in the first round too.
mm. Okay. Would you say that Travis Davis has been one of your toughest opponents that you faced? He would say, or
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, I felt and and, and ultimately the fight kind of got ended prematurely. Like the record says, that I got submitted, but I I ended up I couldn't continue because of my foot. So I did have to tell the referee I couldn't go, and it was like a verbal submission. Um, but up until the point in the fight, I felt like it was going exactly like I planned. Like I knew that I would, he was a super skilled fighter, and like he was the guy who comes out and he wants to control the pace and get into get comfortable out there. And I felt like I had him very uncomfortable. Like if you look at the fight, he was moving around the cage a lot more than he ever did. He was ducking into trying to grapple and clinch with me because he didn't want to stand at range. And I just felt like I was rushing because I expected me to be getting him to that point in like the end of the second, start of the third round, and I saw him at that point in like like in the middle of the first round. I was like, okay, I've already got him to where I want him. Now I just got to land a shot on him. But I should have been taking my time and finding, okay, I know I got him to the point, but let me find the shot now. Let me set him up. Let me figure out where he's gonna go when I do certain things. And I think I would have got him out. So he was definitely one of my toughest opponents in terms of he made me think the most. But I think before that, I had faced tougher and harder opponents and had success against some of them.
mm,
So
yeah, it's pretty good. And do you think like you being a bigger guy, 6'3", you think that helps you tremendously in a lot of these fights?
I definitely do. I think like even yesterday, I felt like you can kind of it's it's not just the fight isn't just in the cage when we go in there and fight. It's kind of all of it, So there was a lot of things we were doing backstage, weigh-ins, face-off things where we have to be around each other. And I kind of, definitely being 6'3", 6'4" ish. Like everyone always tells, like you look like you're like 6'5". So like I understand like my opponent yesterday, I believe he was like 5'11", 6 foot. So that kind of plays on you when you're walking by this guy and the whole time you see him, it's just like he's kind of towering over you, and it's like okay,
Mm.
as much as we try to act hard and like we're fear, it plays in your mind a little bit like man, it's kind of guy's kind of big. This might be a rough one tomorrow. So
Mm. Okay.
I
Um,
definitely try to take my physical gifts, and when I'm next to my opponent, I try to stand a little taller, just you know, look a little more intimidating, let the
uh,
dreads swing a little bit.
get the mind games going a little bit.
Exactly, you know,
I understand that. Trying to use every advantage possible. I get that.
I took chess.
Um, do you consume? You said just kind of eat, sleep, breathe, kind of MMA, trying in that lifestyle. When it comes to like media or anything like that, when you're like a movie or television show or anything like that, do you also watch a lot of that too? Like in regards to like if it's about MMA or fighting or anything like that.
Oh yeah, yeah, I love like the MMA movies. Like what was it? Warrior is one of my favorite
Oh,
MMA movies with Tom Hardy as Tommy. That's not probably my favorite MMA movie, but yeah, I used to love like all the action karate movies, Bloodsport, Kickboxer, all of that stuff like that with John Claude Van Damme and all of those guys back in the day. So yeah, I definitely am intrigued by it and keep up with it. I watch a lot of like when I'm not uh training or fight, like I'm usually watching like interviews of like the MMA fighters that are coming up on the next big fight card and kind of seeing where they are in their camp and keeping track of the division and who looking like they're going to face off soon down the road if this person wins and that person wins. Um, Technique videos, kind of like my YouTube is mostly just like well-known coaches who I kind of respect their philosophies on things and just their different videos on different things where I just watch and I'm like, oh, that's dope. Let me start trying to implement that on some of my free time and when I'm just drilling or doing my own thing, I'll take a video and just kind of take some drills from it and start trying to work it on my own and then see if it translates into what I do. And so
yeah.
yeah, I'm definitely 24/7 MMA.
What did you think about? Because this past weekend, it was UFC 280.
Yep.
What did you think about
Yep.
that event?
It was good. Like so it was actually um great that it was in Abu Dhabi because it was in Abu Dhabi, they aired the fights over here at like 11, 10 a.m. So what I mean, if they hadn't did that, I wouldn't have been able to see the fights because I would have been in the back warming up and kind of getting locked in. And when I'm getting locked in on my fights, I don't care about somebody else fighting.
Mm.
So, um, but yeah, we got while we were waiting for all the administrative stuff at the venue, we kind of got to watch. So I got to see uh Islam Makhachev beat Charles Oliveira. I missed the Dillashaw fight, but I heard that Dillashaw kind of got banged up a little bit, and Peter Yan and O'Malley, like I heard that was a controversial decision. That it sounded like O'Malley got the nod, but really a lot of people were saying like Peter Yan sounded like he beat him up pretty good. So it was a nice change, like to have it to be to where I could actually watch it because a lot of times when we're fighting on the same day as a good card, we know like we're gonna miss it. We just gotta catch the highlights. But it was a lot of good performances up there. Bilal Muhammad, he surprised me. I didn't know that he was. I didn't think he was gonna do that to Sean Brady the way he did. Sean Brady being undefeated, but Benil Dariush, some of these names really just kind of we knew they were good, and they kind of came in and stamped their name as like, okay,
Mm.
now I'm the next person to be considered the top of the division.
Mm.
So it was great,
Nice. Well, I'll let you kind of get out of here, man. Thank you for coming on, man. It's been great.
man. I really wanted to get it before, just it's great promo for the fight, but after just as good, and there would be plenty more. So I definitely would love to come back on anytime you guys will have me.
Oh, definitely. Next fight you got, make sure to do it before. I will
Okay.
definitely. Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to talk about your stuff, your merch, socials, anything like that, if you want to pimp that, you can right now if you wanted to.
Okay. Yeah. So for sure, anybody who wants to follow me on Instagram, you can follow me at grindtime GRINDTIME_RP, and up there I have a link tree bio. Up there, you can find a link to my merch website on mmatco.com. Check in the bio, go there. We got shirts, hoodies, and a bunch of other stuff. I'm gonna try to get them, maybe get hats, like the little Scullies, get the cold weather stuff going.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think they got coffee mugs. So it's a whole bunch of things over there. The people at MMA Tico, we have a partnership. They kind of sponsored me, so they produce a lot of my fight merch and all of that good stuff. So follow me up there for sure. Follow me on Facebook at my fighter page, Ryan the Predator Parker. But I'm gonna update it to the Apex Predator soon. So yeah, just be on the lookout for that. I try to put my fight updates on there so that everybody can see. I usually create an event so that if you want to go, you can go ahead and put that you're going, and then it books it to your calendar. So it gives you a reminder to kind of stay up on it and stay up on any updates for it. So just keep following me. I plan to do big things. This was step one in the journey to me getting to the top and becoming a world champion one day. So I would love if you guys tune in for that.
Nice. Yeah. I wish you the best of luck, man. You don't have any YouTube channel? Put any like highlights from the fights, anything like that on there?
We got a team channel for Team X Combat Wrestling Traps that we kind of do a total synopsis highlight tape. I do want to. I'm talking to my a friend of mine who's big into the videography and everything like that. He's actually I'll plug his channel because he's actually doing for this fight. He was doing a documentary on me, um, and it's in the works right now. It's 7 Fight 7. So it's like the number 7,
Mm.
and like our area code is 757. So he kind of put a spin on it and 7 Fight 7. So 7_fight_7 on YouTube, and that documentary should be coming out soon. I just sent him some video from the fight that I had for some people that was there. So he's probably going to take the next week or week and a half to kind of put some things together, and then we'll review and kind of look at some tweaks we can make, and then he'll drop that. So after that too, I'm going to get with him a little bit more to kind of get my own personal YouTube page and things like that really going, just to document this journey. I that's one of my biggest regrets with when I wrestled in high school. I was really good at it, but I was so focused on just wrestle. Like I would go to tournaments, mom and dad had to work, so they'd give me some money, send me out with coach, and we just go wrestle. And, I have no video from that time. Nobody in the stands to watch me. We just go. All right, we're going up to Maryland today. We're going up to Pennsylvania today, and those are
Mm.
some of the best times in the world. But I have nothing to show for, so I don't want my MMA career to be like that.
Mm. Yeah, I'll be make sure to be on the lookout for that, and I'll put your all your links in the description below when I upload the video, and I'll let you know when the video goes up. I'll make sure to send it to you. Um,
All right, man.
all right. Thank you, man. Thank you, Ryan Parker. Good luck on your next fight. Good luck on your endeavors, man.
Thank you, man.
All right. Take care.
Yes, sir.
All right. Hey, Chris Anthem, I'll get back to you. I'll message you back here. Uh, let's see. Awesome. Yeah. I don't know where you want to send it to me at. Let me see who's up right now and who's streaming. I can raid that person right now since I'm doing it right now. But that was a great interview. I like that. Like doing it with with Ryan Parker there. Uh, who's on right now? Joey the Bastard. He's doing music right now. Maybe I'll raid them. Maybe I'll rate them. I haven't rated them before. Uh, and we'll be back. We'll be back Friday doing House of the Dragon. I can't wait to see the final episode. I think someone's gonna die this episode, which is pretty awesome. All right. I'm gonna rate Joey the Bastard, Basturd, and Joey Joey, and then THE. Joey the Bastard, playing some music right now on this channel. Thanks everybody for stopping by. Chris Anthem, Swag Me Please, thank you for stopping by. Much appreciated. To everybody, stay tuned. All right.